If you ever think your life is missing drama, just move into an HOA run by a woman named Karen. Welcome to Why Always Karen. Before we begin, drop a like on the video and subscribe so we can continue making more videos like this one. Not just a Karen the Karen. Karen Whitmore, to be exact. Blonde bob, pastel blazers, and a clipboard that's basically an extension of her arm. She doesn't run the HOA, she rules it, like some suburban dictator with a passion for citations and a vendetta against joy. I moved into Willow Creek 6 months ago. Single guy, freelance web designer, nothing fancy. Just wanted a peaceful place with decent Wi-Fi and a patch of grass to drink coffee on. Apparently, that was too much to ask. First week, Karen knocks on my door with a welcome packet and a warning about the shade of beige on my mailbox. Second week, she leaves a citation for having a non-regulation welcome mat. Third week, she's at it again complaining about the angle of my parked car. I'm not even kidding. By the second month, she'd started calling me a disruption to neighborhood harmony. I was too casual, too aloof. And my personal favorite, lowering the property's aesthetic integrity, whatever that means. Then came the petition. She showed up at the monthly HOA meeting with her perfect posture and an evil little smirk. We need to discuss Mr. Carter's continued violation of community standards, she said, like she was reading off a police report. She handed out a petition to have me removed from the HOA entirely. Can she even do that? I asked. Apparently not, but when has legality ever stopped Karen? Her argument was that I was not a good fit for the community. A couple of her little minions, Margaret from Lot 6 and that weirdly aggressive guy with the bonsai trees, nodded in agreement. I just think, she said, with faux concern oozing from her voice, that we deserve neighbors who care. Now, I could have lawyered up or fought her publicly. But that's not my style. Instead, I smiled. I said, "You're right, Karen. The neighborhood deserves better." And that's when the plan started. A week later, I met with an old college friend, Devin. Devin works in real estate development and owed me a favor. We had lunch, I showed him the listing, and a week after that, I put in a quiet cash offer for Lot 39. Lot 39 is the property right next door to Karen's house. And it just so happened to be on sale. A foreclosed fixer-upper that had been sitting empty for months. I closed the deal through a shell LLC so no one could trace it back to me right away. The deed was in my hands before Karen could even tally the signatures on her bogus petition. She had no idea, and that's what made it so sweet. Next step? Turning Lot 39 into something she'd absolutely hate within every single HOA rule, of course. The day the construction crew pulled into Lot 39, I watched from my porch with a mug of coffee and the biggest grin I could muster without tipping my hand. Karen stormed out of her house like she smelled smoke and social change all at once. She marched across her perfect lawn in her usual pastel power suit, heels clicking like an angry metronome. "Excuse me," she shouted, waving her clipboard like a traffic cop on a power trip. "What is going on here?" The crew lead, a guy named Rico who I'd already briefed, just smiled and handed her a permit. "We're renovating the property, ma'am. Full interior remodel, approved by the city and your lovely HOA." Karen looked at the paperwork like it was radioactive. But this isn't the aesthetic. There are rules." "Oh, we've read all the rules," Rico said with a wink. "Color scheme, landscaping, fence height, weary, following every single one to the letter." I could see her eye twitching. She glared at the crew, then back at the house, and then at me still calmly sipping coffee. "Don't you find it suspicious?" she asked, now shouting in my direction. "This sudden construction? Next to my property?" "Not really," I said. "Could just be a coincidence." Oh, she was fuming. But without knowing I owned the lot, she couldn't do anything. I knew her kind power only worked if she knew who to target. And right now, Lot 39 was owned by a company called Crescent Pines Holdings, which happened to be me, hidden behind legal layers even she couldn't peel back. Over the next few weeks, construction ramped up. But instead of building a cozy little home, I went bigger. Not illegally, oh no. I was careful. But I was creative. The outside? Tasteful, clean, HOA approved. The inside? Something else entirely. An indoor-outdoor sound system installed for ambience, of course. A high-privacy fence that just barely met the max height limit. I planted a backyard garden full of colorful gnomes and wind chimes that sang gently in the breeze. Nothing offensive, but deeply, deliciously tacky. Especially to someone like Karen. She kept showing up, demanding answers. Peeking through the fence like a nosy neighbor in a sitcom gone wrong. One time, she even pretended to accidentally trip and fall into the yard. "Oh, Karen," I said as I helped her up. "You all right? You really should be more careful." "You think you're clever," she hissed under her breath. I smiled. "I know I am." Then, the grand finale, I announced an open house event at Lot 39. Flyers went out. Balloons, a taco truck, and a jazz trio on the lawn. Entirely legal, entirely allowed. Karen tried to call the HOA emergency line to shut it down. Unfortunately for her, I was now on the HOA board. Yup, while she was busy scheming, I'd attended 3 boring meetings, ran for the vacant secretary's seat, and won by default because no one else showed up. Karen's face when she saw me signing off on my own event approval? Priceless. But we're just getting warmed up. What I had planned next wasn't just about Lot 39. No, I had a surprise that would shake the very roots of Karen's perfectly trimmed hedges. After the open house, whispers started circulating. Not just about Lot 39, but about Karen. Something about the way she barked at kids riding scooters and fined Mr. Thompson $75 for planting unauthorized tulips had finally pushed the neighborhood past its breaking point. So I fanned the flames. Anonymously, of course. A few concerned neighbor letters slipped into mailboxes. Each one carefully worded, citing obscure bylaws Karen had violated herself. One had a full breakdown of how she'd used HOA funds to pay for branded Karen's Community Watch jackets. Another included grainy photos of her dog doing its business in someone else's yard without a leash. At the next HOA meeting, the turnout tripled. Karen looked like a teacher walking into a classroom full of students who'd read the syllabus and were ready to fight. "I don't appreciate this ambush," she snapped as people began questioning everything: her spending, her selective enforcement, her chairwoman for life attitude. I waited patiently in the corner, letting the neighborhood work itself into a frenzy. Karen tried to regain control, her voice raising an octave every time someone interrupted her. "I have dedicated the last 10 years to preserving the dignity of Willow Creek," she screeched. "And you people want to tear it all down over rumors?" "Actually," I said, standing up with the calmness of a seasoned Bond villain, "what people want is transparency. Maybe even, dare I say it, democracy." Karen's eyes narrowed. "What are you insinuating, Mr. Carter?" "That maybe it's time we held an election for HOA president. You know, like the bylaws state." Gasps. A few claps. Karen stammered, "We've never needed one before." "Because you kept canceling them," I cut in. Article 4, Section 2. Leadership roles must be reaffirmed by vote every 2 years. You've been. How long overdue now? 8. A heavy silence filled the room. Margaret from Lot 6, once Karen's biggest cheerleader, actually nodded. "He's right. I checked last night." The tension was so thick it could have been sliced with one of Karen's overpriced cheese knives. "I motioned for a special election," I said, casually slipping the written motion onto the table. "Seconded." Hands flew up. Karen's face turned tomato red. "This is a witch hunt." "No, Karen," I said, holding back a smirk. "This is accountability." The election was scheduled for the following month. I didn't even need to run. I already had someone in mind: a sweet, sharp-witted woman named Diane from Lot 12. Retired lawyer. Hated Karen. Had the kind of no-nonsense aura that made HOA meetings run on time and under budget. While Karen scrambled to save face, I turned my attention back to Lot 39. The final transformation was nearly complete. You see, I had no intention of living in that house, but I did intend to lease it. To the one type of neighbor Karen feared more than me, renters. Not just any renters, either. Artists. Messy, vibrant, free-spirited artists. I posted a listing titled Creative Oasis in a Quiet Suburb, HOA included, and within a week, I had a lease signed. Karen would soon find out what happens when you try to evict the wrong neighbor. Karen thought she had seen it all. She hadn't. The new tenants of Lot 39 arrived in a rainbow-painted vintage van with stickers that said things like "Smash the Patriarchy" and "Compost, Don't Complain." There were 4 of them: Ash, Luna, River, and Fern, each one more eccentric than the last. They hugged my mailman. They thanked ants for their service to the earth, and they brought a therapy pig named Waffles. The pig wore a flower crown. Karen nearly passed out. "This is a neighborhood, not a commune," she barked, arms flailing as Luna gently waved a smudge stick in her direction. "What even is that smell?" "Cleansing negative energy," Luna replied serenely. "But it's not strong enough for this level of toxicity." I almost spit my coffee. The artist set up hammocks in the backyard, strung with solar-powered fairy lights that flickered softly at night. Karen tried to cite them for non-approved yard fixtures, but the lights were within lumen limits and timed to shut off at 10 p.m. just like the rules said. Next came the art. Mural on the inside-facing backyard fence, a dreamy swirl of galaxies and koi fish, bursting with color. Karen called it graffiti. The HOA bylaws called it not visible from the street, and therefore not her problem. Ash, a performance poet, held backyard readings every Thursday night. Nothing big, just soft bongos, candles, and people reading poetry about capitalism and bees. The noise never exceeded the decibel limit. But it did send Karen to her window with binoculars and a blood pressure cuff. Then came the Community Garden Initiative. Fern and River walked door to door, offering free potted plants and vegetable seedlings, inviting neighbors to join their compost co-op. People loved them. Even Margaret started wearing a sun hat and helping water plants. Karen filed a nuisance neighbor complaint with the HOA. It got denied. By Diane, the new HOA president. Oh yes, Diane won by a landslide. Karen came in third behind Diane in a write-in vote for Waffles the pig. Karen tried to contest the results. Diane handed her a framed copy of the bylaws with a sticky note: "Read, and weep." At the next HOA meeting, Karen sat alone at her table with a stack of unused Vote Whitmore flyers while Diane outlined the new plans for neighborhood improvement. More inclusivity, community events, and fewer arbitrary fines. Karen stood up, snapped her pen, and stormed out. She hadn't missed a meeting in 10 years, but now she skipped the next 3. Meanwhile, I played the long game. I didn't gloat. I just mowed my lawn, waved politely, and added a small, tasteful wooden sign in my front yard that read, "Lot 39 sponsored by Karen's Hospitality." No one said a word. They just laughed. And Karen? Oh, she was done. Or so I thought. Because the final act was yet to come, the one where Karen tried to go nuclear. And I was more than ready. It was quiet. Too quiet. Karen hadn't launched a complaint, spied through her blinds, or threatened to call the police in weeks. The neighborhood had started to breathe again. Lawn chairs popped up on porches. Kids rode bikes without fear of fines. Even the HOA Facebook page had been renamed. Willow Creek Neighbors, No Judgment Zone. But like any classic villain, Karen didn't go down without one last overdramatic gasp. It happened one Saturday afternoon. I was helping Luna and River plant succulents when a black SUV pulled into the neighborhood. Out stepped a pair of stiff-looking men in collared shirts and dark shades. "Excuse us," one of them said, flashing a badge. "We're with the county zoning office. We received an anonymous tip about unauthorized commercial use of a residential property." He nodded toward Lot 39. Karen was standing across the street behind a shrub with a walkie-talkie, trying to look casual. She even had a trench coat on. In summer. I gave the officers a warm smile. "Happy to walk you through it." Inside Lot 39, everything was in order. Permits were posted. No more than 4 unrelated adults on lease. No business signage, no transactions taking place, and most importantly, no violations. The officers thanked me and left. But not before one of them muttered, "We've been getting a lot of these anonymous tips lately. It's always that lady over there with the clipboard." Karen pretended to water a cactus. That night, I put my real plan into motion. You see, Karen didn't know that 3 months ago, before the artist moved in, ID quietly submitted a proposal to the city council. A new zoning petition. Lot 39 wasn't just any lot. It was a dual-access corner parcel. And I petitioned to split it right down the middle into 2 microlots. Which meant I now own Lot 39A and Lot 39B. The following Monday, Karen received a cheerful flyer in her mailbox. "Coming soon to Lot 39B, the Willow Creek Free Little Library and Art Gallery. Sponsored by local artists and your friendly neighborhood board member. Open hours, sunrise to sunset. Donations welcome. Community driven. HOA approved." The structure would be tiny, less than 120 square feet. No permit needed, fully compliant, and completely visible from Karen's living room window. Karen lost it. She marched to the city office, to the HOA board, to the mayor's office. She even tried to file a petition to ban glitter-based art installations. But this time, no one listened. The community loved the idea. Kids painted signs. Retirees volunteered to stock the shelves. Even Waffles the pig got an assistant librarian name tag. And Karen? She listed her house 2 weeks later. The real estate agent whispered to me at the open house, "She's leaving the HOA. Says it's gone downhill." I nodded solemnly. It's a tragedy, really. The day she moved out, the entire block came out to wave goodbye. Someone played "Na Na Hey Hey" on a portable speaker. I won't say who. Okay, fine. It was me. Karen's reign was over. And in her place stood a new Willow Creek full of laughter, paint-stained fingers, and one very smug pig named Waffles.